Hi guys, Simon Giselian here again, and this is the Lockdown Chronicles 12, I believe. Get in there. Actually, some really amazing things have happened. You can probably see from behind, I've turned my office into a bit of a war room. So a lot of things are happening now that weren't happening before, and it's really because I've been doing the work. I've been utilizing the time that I sometimes didn't have before or didn't prioritize before. So I've used this lockdown time to actually look at what I was failing to do in the past, and now I'm doing it. Some quite remarkable things have happened today, which I won't talk about now, but everything I've been trying to do for the last 5 years seems to be coming to fruition. So what I wanted to talk about today, because obviously things are moving on a pace, and I wanted to talk about the relative winners and losers of this whole coronavirus COVID-19 situation. So let's have a look at the losers first of all. Biggest loser I find at the present time, obviously short term, is restaurants, businesses, small businesses. Some of them are going to emerge stronger than ever before. Certainly people aren't going to stop eating. It's whether they can recover in the meantime. This is why it's so important that the type of recovery being used by the government, it goes directly to the people involved. So I feel that they're going to lose out in the short term. Longer term, I think people are going to bounce back with a vengeance. We're seeing the type of support that people are doing, even with pick-up and delivery options. So people recognise that we need to be sticking together. I think that's really useful. The pharmaceutical companies are going to be a big loser in this. No longer can they price gouge. No longer can they qualify their decisions in regards to putting the prices up on things. So people just won't allow that to happen, and I feel that there may well be some more regulation now. Even the threat, I believe, of privatization of some pharmaceuticals that are making the type of drugs that could be a national security. So I think that type of legislation will probably come in during the course of the next Congress. Biggest loser, I think, at present time is going to be China. They thought they were going to be the biggest winner, and it looked like they were just going to buy up everything. And after all this nonsense, I think that the public outrage on how China has dealt with this, with the complicity of the media, the complicity of the World Health Organization and the UN, I don't think people are going to forget this in a hurry. They're not going to forget that people died on their watch. They're not going to forget that businesses have suffered because of their ineptitude and their culture of just saving face. I'm going to actually do a separate video just on China, because I understand what's been going on politically and geopolitically for some while there. And I've been talking about this in some of my circles, and it's a lot more about it. This is just one string of a very large bow, and there are a lot more facets to the whole China thing. So I'd like to dedicate a video to that. Joe Biden's a big loser here. He's literally just become the invisible man. He was riding a wave of popularity. It looks like he was going to beat Bernie Sanders. Now, he looks like the emperor with no clothes. He's got no message, certainly no message that people are hearing at the present time. He looks confused. He's fumbling through everything. He does not look like a leader that could actually manage us in a crisis. So this whole thing is not only just put him in his basement, but every time he comes out of his basement with a message, he stuffs that up as well. So I think people are really, really looking at that him as, from a potential leadership point of view, as being a bit of a lame duck. And immediately some of, not his rivals, but his fellow Democrats like, Cuomo and even de Blasio looks better than him at the moment. So that's saying something. So I do feel that is going to be a real problem for Biden moving forward. I think at some point the Democratic Party have to make a really big decision, see if they can supplant him with someone else. Biggest losers, I think, are politicians. We've realised just how inept that they are, how politically divisive they are, even though lives are being put at risk, people coming up with their own agendas as if nothing is happening, and that's just BS. People are seeing it. People are seeing all politicians on both sides of the fence for what they are, just very petty opportunists that really are no use to anyone in a crisis. Career politicians are probably the most useless occupation anyway, let alone in the crisis like this. Why do we need people that just talk and actually don't come up with any solutions whatsoever? This is not a time for politicians. This is a time for science. This is a time for the medical profession. This is the time for the military. This is a time for FEMA. And it's a time for very clear leadership and not for argumentative playground type politics. And I think people are seeing it for exactly what it is. And some of those politicians are going to be hurt when it comes to the election. People will not forget this in a hurry. Other losers, celebrities. Where are they? Their message doesn't actually mean anything. Some of the things that they're doing, like singing a song, seems pretty trite, really. I know a lot of them are actually doing probably what their agents are telling them, and actually to give money directly to the causes to actually help out, because there's nothing else that they can do. Sitting in a bathtub with petals talking does not help anybody. It really doesn't. People don't care. They really don't care that how a celebrity thinks in these situations, because they have nothing to add to the narrative whatsoever. Where's Kim Kardashian? Where's Paris Hilton? Who cares? Because they've got nothing to add. I think that we're not going to forget this as well afterwards, and you're going to start to see a big drop in the relevance of a lot of celebrities who really have just been full of hot air and are famous for being famous and nothing else. If they could actually get a mask on and start pushing patients through hospitals, people would have more respect for them. But they're not. They're sitting in their $100 million mansions and just talking, and that's really not helping anybody. So they're going to be the losers here as well. I think billionaires. This is the time that billionaires should step up. I mean, I know that Bill Gates is doing his thing, but no one trusts that. You can't get a person who's been talking about depopulating the world who then wants to actually sell you the vaccines. He puts in $100 million to help, but he knows he's going to make at least $6 or $7 billion, with his vaccines. That's what is called a return on investment. So it doesn't actually ring true or authentic or have any integrity behind it. This is a computer salesman. What the hell does he know about public health? It's ridiculous. Why are we even listening to this person? If he didn't have money, no one would care. And the fact of the matter is that he is irrelevant to the narrative unless he opened up his checkbook and started giving money to things in a real way that doesn't benefit him long term. And you're starting to see that with all the other billionaires as well. It's like, unless you're ready now to take some of the money that you've used, and you've actually gained from the populace that have actually given you that money, because that is actually where it came from. Unless you're prepared now to take a deep, heavy cut in what you have to be able to help people out, you are irrelevant. People do not care about you. Okay, so they need to change that. Also, the biggest losers, I think, is us in regards to human interaction. Even now you go down and people, if they approach you, you almost like back away, and you're looking at people with suspicion. Looking at them. Are they a potential carrier? Are they coughing? You listen to a cough or a sneeze, and everyone reacts. So I think that a total distrust of our fellow man is going to take something that's going to have to take a while to heal. Our interaction with our families, with our kids. Human beings are pack animals. We need that human interaction. That's what defines us. It defines our character, and I think that is a massive loss at the present time. And I think that it will get better over time if we can get through this. We're looking at the whole world has closed down over a virus, a flu virus that has a less than 1% fatality rate. I mean, really, I just don't get it unless there's something else going on, and that's there's another video that I'll create. So those are the losers as far as I can see. Now let's have a look at the winners. Let's work on a more positive. Biggest winner I can see at the present time is the Earth itself. If anyone ever had any questions on climate change, well, we've seen the skies clearer. We've seen the rivers clearer. We've seen, the water around Venice clearer. Animals are coming back because human waste and human, just the way that we use the world, I think it has come full focus. We believe that we can just go on forever doing what we can to Gaia. And Gaia has shown that, no, without humans, it's actually pretty good. It cleans its own act up very, very quickly. So I think that the Earth having a break from a human mess, travel, everything like that. Apparently even the overall shaking, the seismographics of the world has changed because people aren't walking around as much, so our whole Earth is being healed at the moment, and we need to take a real look at that. It's almost like as if the world has gone through a fasting, like a water fast, and it's come out the other end, and it actually feels clearer, it feels better, it feels healthier. So I think that is really going to help the whole narrative on climate change. Animals have been a really good winner in this. Certainly domestic animals, because they get to have us at home. Before we would go out and work and they would spend 8 hours just hanging around wondering when dad or mum are going to come back. Now we're with them all the time, and the relationship matters to them. They're pack animals as well. So I think that they've gained a lot during this time, and they're companions, and of course they're companions that you don't have to have social distancing with, because other than the tiger in New York, no animals got it yet. So I do believe that is a real positive for them. Also, the animals that were getting eaten and killed, like bats and cats and dogs and all this horrible stuff that was happening in China. I really hope that they do bring in legislation to close these places down. They're an abomination. I just doubt that the Chinese will do that, because they'll just claim it's a cultural thing. I've been to Hong Kong and I've been to Macau, and I've seen these markets, and they are horrific. Especially when they have to keep the kidneys in and the livers and all this type of thing in rabbits, so you don't believe it's a cat because it's skinned. And it's just horrific, the fact that these people will eat anything. It's just an abomination, and we've seen the error of those ways. We've seen it in the West because we don't do that stuff, but we're suffering because other people do, and someone somewhere needs to take account of that and actually punish that, because it's wrong. I think animals all over, even farmed animals, are going to benefit from this. People are going to start eating less animals. What we do to animals is pretty sick, to be honest. For when it turns up in the package in Safeway, people are now beginning to realise what it takes to get them there, and I do feel that there's going to be largely a move forward in vegetarianism after this. Nurses, they're great winners on this. I've always admired nurses. We often used to say with medics in the military, never look down on a medic, because at some point you'll be looking up at one. And we always used to give them the greatest respect. Nurses have spirit. They see things that a lot of people really shouldn't need to see. So they're going to really benefit from this, both from a society point of view, from a point of view of gratitude, which is long overdue. The next time any argument comes up about nurses' pay, you better be sure you don't want to be on the wrong side of that one. That is going to go through no matter what. Conditions for doctors, interns, all of this, I think, is going to increase exponentially, as will people wanting to get into that industry. Okay, so any type of service industry, anything that has service on the end of it, police service, fire service, ambulance service, nursing service, they're always the ones that get the crappy end of the stick. That no one wants to pay for those vocational jobs. Those people will do those jobs no matter what. That's what happens in a service industry. And yet we pay millions and millions of dollars of people kicking a ball around, or catching a ball, or bouncing a ball. when in reality these are the true heroes of this whole situation, and they're the ones that are saving lives. So we need to get a real perspective on what is valuable as human beings. So medical science is going to be another one. I do believe that a lot of people, the people that are the superheroes right now are the ones that are actually going to be saving the world. And they're not saving the world by flying around in a cape. They're saving the world by going to the very, very smallest atomic particles of our makeup to actually find solutions. So I think that a lot of youngsters seeing this and growing up with this are going to want to put themselves into those vocations. So I think that's going to be a real winner. Families. You're being forced to get time with the family. Now that can be a positive, it can be a negative, but I think our culture and the way that we've lived life with parents mostly doing 2 jobs and the stress and strains of all of that, I think have put an undue stress on families, and this is why we're seeing a lot of domestic violence. It's why we're seeing a lot of divorce and all of this type of thing. If families, when they are together, they find reasons to be. There's a reason they were together in the first place. So I think that having this enforced, sort of quarantine, people playing games together, people at least making plans for their kids' education, cooking together, I feel there's got to be a positive. It just has to be. Board games are going to be another winner. There's going to be this massive rise in the popularity and sale of board games. I love board games personally, so that works for me. I think Trump is going to be a big winner on this. I think that he has, by necessity, had to step up to the plate. I think he's been very clever, especially since he actually knows nothing about health. The way that he has actually placed himself at the forefront of this. No wartime president has ever not been re-elected. He knows that, and this is why you're starting to hear all of these things like it's a war on coronavirus, and these nurses are the soldiers in the front line, and you're hearing all of this stuff. So he knows what he's doing, and I think that he'll win big on this. Conspiracy theorists, another big winners. All the things that a lot of us have been saying for many years, people are going, and now they're listening to you. It doesn't seem so tinfoil hat brigade anymore. There are big agendas that are going on, and that will be subject to another video I'll do. But do believe me when I say that this is not random. This is not something that has happened by accident. The whole world has not closed down. Financial markets collapsed. Everything else has not been done because this is a random event. Trust me on this. There are agendas afoot, and people are hijacking this to be able to push through, in some ways, a very sinister agenda, but there is also some very good stuff that's going to come from it as well. I think the last winner, I think it's going to be mums. Mums have always told you, haven't they? They've been vindicated now after all these years. My mother always used to say, "Got to wash your hands, got to wash your hands," And of course, you never do because you're a kid, and you go, "Well, whatever," But now, I think people are actually going to wash their hands more, and they're actually going to look at this and think, "Yeah, Mum was probably right," and they always are. So, mums everywhere, thank you for your wisdom. That is now greatly accepted with gratitude, and I think that we'll pass that on. I think that the final winner is going to be ourselves. We're being forced to see who we are, and I think that always happens well in having a shared experience with others, but also, as they say, diamonds are just coal that are put under pressure. All of us are being put under pressure at the moment, and it's something that we don't like, but it's something that we have to endure. And as we come out the other side, I do believe that we will be better for it, and that's just a fact of life. We're going to see, all of our values are going to be tested. All of our perspectives are going to be tested. We're going to be tested in regards to what is truly important. We're going to look at what we eat from now on, look at how we treat animals, look at how we treat other people, look at how we treat the service industry, look at how we treat businesses. So I think we're going to actually become better people because of that. So in reality, we are going to be the winners from this. I know it's not nice, but that's just the way it is. So that is one of my thoughts for today, for what it's worth. So this is Simon Trezelyan, the Lockdown Chronicles, out to you.